It's great to have you aboard on this journey. So far, in previous lessons, we've talked about what to do to really set your speech approach in the right direction, what the basic foundation should be. We've talked about what to do about speaking anxiety. Then, of course, we've also covered how to apply some of these tools into specific communications that you encounter on a regular basis. Then we talked about what to do about any bad habits that may pop up, any bad speech habits. Lesson 5 is about being more clear. In order to gain more clarity in your speech, you really need to create a very strong framework. And I know that sounds like good advice and just best practices, but there's a reason. The reason is because of people's listening behaviors. So we're going to talk about who you are trying to communicate to and who you're trying to connect with. And you've got to leverage their listening behaviors. In order to keep people's interest and have them be able to connect with and determine that you are really speaking in an authentic way, in other words, to remove any of the obstacles of lack of clarity, you need to create this strong framework. Because in the progress of listening, the process of listening to you speak, there's going to be curiosity, anticipation, discovery, and ultimately completion. So, how do you accomplish all of those things? I do have a template that I'd like to share with you, and then we're going to work on some exercises that will show you how to get used to using this template. We're going to take the process nice and slow. Eventually, though, you will be able to do this rather quickly, provided you're accustomed to doing it. When we talk about listening behaviors and we talk about a strong framework, I want you to consider the framework of a pyramid, as you see on the screen. At the top of the pyramid is something that I refer to as the bumper sticker. Just below the bumper sticker, we utilize the rule of 3. After that, we are simply following through on a vertical unfolding. So let me explain. A bumper sticker is a personal characterization, as you see here. It's not necessarily just the title of whatever it is you're talking about, whether it's recounting a life experience, telling a story that you've heard or that you've told before, or giving a presentation, or even contributing at a meeting, or even speaking about the things that you've done during a job interview. You want to start with a personal characterization. It is the information filtered through your perspective. And you come up with a short phrase. The reason it's a bumper sticker is so that it's not too long. It's a nice short phrase that does beg the question, how, what, or why. Then you utilize the rule of 3. And you do offer 3 reasons that explain your bumper sticker. After that, the unpacking of those 3 reasons is, as you see, the details or the weeds. This is what I mean by a vertical unfolding. A bumper sticker followed by 3 supportive reasons, followed by the details. Now, I do call this a vertical unfolding, but it doesn't mean that you are beholden to gravity, that you only go in one direction. Because if you start with your bumper sticker as you should, then go very quickly to your 3 reasons, not explaining everything that goes into those reasons, that's the details. You just simply state those reasons very clearly, and then you go back and you unpack. So this means that you do have to move from one level to the next. You go down, it's a vertical unfolding, but it doesn't only go in one direction. You can rise back up. This gives a framework to your listeners because they're hearing the bumper sticker in the beginning. Then they see the three reasons that you've laid out. You're laying out a roadmap of clarity that they are accepting and are willing to go along with. The unpacking is the details. This will serve you very well in many situations because in some business situations, people do want to hear the unpacking of the details. In others, they don't. So details are really upon request. Details are also measured by the amount of time that you determine you have to tell this story that you're telling. Now, when I say a story, basically I'm referring to just about anything that you're talking about because a story follows the same and leverages the same listening behaviors. You start off with an interesting title, then you go to the three reasons, and then to the unpacking and the details. So remember, a strong framework is your best template, is your best guide to being clear. Obviously, if you follow this pattern, you will be offering to the listener what they want to hear and how they want to hear it. It will also keep you on track because you've established what this framework is. Now, I mentioned before that listening behaviors being what they are, we want to hear, we need to experience curiosity, anticipation, discovery, and completion. This is what we call the circle of satisfaction. This is how you connect in the most basic but most important way. So think for a moment about your pyramid. Think about your bumper sticker right in the beginning. Your bumper sticker is a bold phrase that does beg the question how, what, or why. It's not necessarily just the information. It does have a bit of your perspective. It does have your opinion and why it's important to you. So it does offer up this unspoken question of how, what, or why. The anticipation comes from you then offering three reasons because now there's an anticipation because you've created a roadmap of what will come next. It's also permission for you to go into these various things. And the reason this is important is because we don't want to think that this could be a never ending story or a never ending presentation. If you've set up that there are three reasons that we're going to touch on, it gives me a sense of calm and satisfaction that I will be taking in this information. Then it leads me to a place of discovery. I want to find out what you mean by all of these things and how they relate to that initial bumper sticker. That's why it's important to make that connectivity very clear as you go through either your presentation, your story, your sales pitch, whatever it is that you're talking about. This template will work in so many different instances. Completion. Completion comes from you finishing talking about those three things you've mentioned, giving some of the important details, but then wrapping it up and closing the loop by returning to your bumper sticker. That signifies that the story has completed. That signifies that perhaps it's the other person's time to tell their story or a story. Or wrapping up a presentation, it's time for questions. So you can see how these things all go together. It's important in terms of your clarity that you take into account listening behaviors. They are the reason why these things work. Over years of teaching clients and giving them this clarity, it is often one of those foundations, one of those things that grounds them, because you can know that listeners want to hear things in this way. And also, if you notice, every time I talk about the three supportive reasons, I am using body language, right? I am what I'm calling placing my buckets. I place them here, here, and here. Again, for people who are visual learners, who are visual processors, it helps to define an even stronger framework. It helps too, in case during the course of telling a story or giving a presentation, you might have left something out. Then you can always say, oh, by the way, this relates back to what I said over here. As a listener, I'm still following you. So this structure is really important to utilize. So let's talk about not just the theory of listening behaviors and the theory of a strong framework with vertical unfolding. Let's talk about what you can do. And I'm going to give you a couple of practice exercises so that you can get used to accessing this vitally important tool for clarity. Let's take a look at a couple of good practice opportunities. Now, you'll see the first one I have is a favorite vacation. What you want to do in order to go through this process is follow the steps that you see on your screen very carefully. It will make this process easier, and it'll make it happen much more quickly as you get good at it. What I want you to do when you're thinking about a favorite vacation and then telling someone about that vacation is think about the three things, the three reasons that it is your favorite vacation, whatever they might be. If you had taken a trip to Paris, it might be the food, the scenery, and the romance, whatever your priorities are. Once you think of what your three reasons why this is your favorite vacation, what you then want to do is go to step number 2, connecting those things together. This will help you to discover your bumper sticker. It's really important that you have that bumper sticker, that you not start with the three reasons. The problem with that is that for most of us, we think in a very linear and horizontal fashion. Usually, one reason plus two reasons plus the third reason equals the conclusion. You've got to take this linear train of thought and you have to make it vertical. So you've got to start with your conclusion and then give your three reasons. But starting with the three reasons here in the process will help you to be able to get to your bumper sticker. That's really important because the bumper sticker has to spring from the reasons. However, the bumper sticker should be stated first. Remember, it's a vertical unfolding. So that brings you to step number 3, which is practice starting with your bumper sticker. If you notice, I have in parentheses the word pause. That gives enough time for that unspoken how, what, or why. In the case of your listeners, they need to have that little pause to let them know that they're questioning what comes next. That's when you move to step number 4. You state your 3 reasons. So you're answering the unspoken question. The bumper sticker is bold, it's short, the reasons explain it. Then to step number 5, when you're talking about your vacation in this case, you then begin to unpack the reasons one by one. The reason over here was the food. You talk in more detail about the food, and that's why it was the most amazing vacation. And then you talk about the scenery, some of the things that you saw. Then you talk about how romantic that vacation was. So you're going to unpack each reason one by one. Finally, to give that sense of listener satisfaction, the completion, the closing of the loop, state your bumper sticker again. And that's why it was the most amazing vacation. So you can see this process will work for the various things that we're talking about here. Favorite vacation is a pretty easy one, a good one to practice with. Your worst travel experience is another interesting story where you can pull, as opposed to positive feelings out of a favored vacation or a travel experience, you get to deal in a little bit of the negative, which is okay, but use the same process to come up with the structure, the framework of your story. Then, if you are really feeling good about this process, take a look at the last presentation you were asked to do. Review that last presentation and put it through this process. Put it through the process of find your 3 reasons why that presentation is important, come up with a bumper sticker, practice using that bumper sticker right in the beginning, state your 3 reasons that answer the unspoken question how, what, or why, unpack each of the reasons, and then finally close the loop by restating your bumper sticker. As a final thought about this, bumper stickers are really an interesting thing. They are not something that you make up. I'm a firm believer that bumper stickers are something we already possess because we already have a perspective. It's a matter of discovery. Then it's a matter of trust. Try not to second guess what your bumper sticker is. If you go through the process of, as I've laid it out here, you will find them. They will make what you are talking about, what you are presenting, that much more interesting. It will also lead to listener satisfaction. It will also keep you on track so that you don't lose your train of thought. It will also give you the opportunity to reinsert information that maybe went missing at some point. It gives you license to be flexible, to allow things to flow. And that's really important. When I say create a framework, a solid framework, I don't want anyone to feel restricted. This is a launching pad for everything that you will soon be able to do.